Hello, I'm Bea Copin and welcome to Rappler Talk. Today we're joined by the new Chief of the Philippine National Police, Director General Ricardo Marquez. Sir, thank you for indulging us. We know you're very busy. Sir, in your inaugural speech, one of the things that really stood out was your promise that meritocracy would be the benchmark or the hallmark of your administration. It's been a problem in the PNP for many, many years now. What's different this time? How do you actually plan to solve that?
The idea is there, the idea of using meritocracy or the accomplishment of an officer as a basis for placement. But there is that big gap there, and that big gap includes documenting.
Okay.
His track record.
All right.
I mean, you can see his probably a listing of his medals, but how was he when he was chief of police?
So
how was he when he was provincial director?
All right.
How was the crime situation in his province when he was provincial director? How was the election during his stint as provincial director? So we would like to capture all these things so that during the time when the senior officer placement and promotion board convenes, then each and every member would have a ready reference to arrive at uninformed decisions.
So you're saying, sir, before that kind of level of scrutiny did not quite exist?
The idea exists, but the how, the how to get there is not that comprehensive yet.
So, Sir Morales, it's the same process that you went through when the president was screening his candidates for.
I'd like to think so.
Checking
I think the office of the president even fielded teams to check.
To really
to
go
check,
to the
to check.
field.
If the accomplishment or the records that's in your CV matches or aligns with the real situation on the ground when you were there.
Right. Sir, one of the things that you discussed in your press con after your speech was that all of these issues are long time coming. Tas yung gusto mong isagot, bakit ba nagpa-persist yung issues na to? One of these are yung bata-bata system in the PNP, having a powerful backer, assures you of a plum position or promotions. Yun, sir, why does that persist in the Philippine National Police?
I think, again, we have to approach this in a very systematic, deliberate manner. Just like what we're doing with Lambat Sibat.
Right.
We document everything, we provide basis, we provide rationale why we are doing these things. At the end of the day, you would see people who have not been able to level up with what they were supposed to be doing. So this from every step of the way, things, activities, performance are documented. So you now provide a basis for discussion. If somebody requested a particular officer to be designated as provincial director, then you have a well-crafted, properly prepared document as a basis for discussion.
To back it
as
up.
it is today, there's no such thing. So if the condition is like that, then that would be right for that kind of system.
Right. Sir, actually, now that you mentioned Lambat Sibat, if people don't know, it's basically smarter policing based on data, backed on data. People would say that's a very obvious thing to do. Bakit ngayon lang? Bakit all these decades hindi na-implement yun ng PNP?
Like I said, at the Directorate for Operations, it is an answered prayer.
Right.
Yung pagdating ni SILG, and he took the helm, he provided that legitimacy for a very important project.
Right.
I think that's what we were waiting the longest time. A lot of officers who have been exposed to more or less the same kind of methodology have tried and tested it in their own units. But once they get relieved, then
there's no continuity.
There's no continuity. As again something that is coming from the very top of the organization, the SILG himself, week after week, hand-holding the Philippine National Police improve, develop, perfect a system that's, peculiar to our communities. That's the big difference there. And you see people, the enthusiasm of people. You see people who get relieved because after so many weeks, they continue to hide crime figures.
Right.
So it is the big difference this time.
Sure, as
The leadership.
But how do you sustain that? That's also a concern. After 2016, definitely you won't. Well, the assumption is you won't be the DILG chief anymore. You plan on retiring in 2016.
Yeah, the plan is make it the Bible as a Bible in crime fighting operations. We have prepared the manual. It's just undergoing some finishing touches.
Right.
The director for operation had been given instructions to accompany it with a memorandum circular so that it becomes the Bible of the PNP in crime fighting operations. We will group people here, conduct trainers training so that in every major urban centers in the country, in all regions, this could be cascaded. Of course, nothing gets perfect the very first time, but we should get this thing moving on the ground.
The plan is to refine it in the coming months and years.
When you involve people, project comes to evolve naturally, and when you involve different people, apply it to the different areas, we expect different outcome, because that's how things are in policing.
Right.
So we have to train people, put them on board, convince them that that this is a superior crime fighting methodology.
So under your term, Sir Bale, parang birthing pains yun, adjustment.
Yes. And some people have tried it in the past without much success.
Right.
We have seen so many success stories in the NCR. So
and in nearby regions.
Yes, that provided us with more reason to pursue this program with much focus.
Sir, aside from criminality, of course, one of the President's concerns in your interview, it was said nga in previous interviews with the media that Mama Sapano was one issue that he tackled when he interviewed you. How do you think the PNP is doing? It's almost 6 months, in a few days, 6 months na after Mama Sapano.
The PNP has moved forward.
Right.
We remember the events every so often. It's still being, written, talked about by the media. But the fact remains that we cannot be tied down by that one particular incident and forget our current roles, which is, addressing peace and order in our respective communities. And even at the height of that problem, I would often say the junior officers in apex sites where I used to manage that, gentlemen, this is part of our job. Let us not be distracted by why we are here, because the people in our community expect us to, attend to their concerns.
Right.
And basically, that's the same thing I have been, talking again and again.
But sir, one question that the President had, how do you prevent something like that from happening again? Bale, parang
We'll make sure that commanders on the ground toe the line, follow the instructions, observe the protocols which are there.
Right.
And one of the suggestions I forwarded to the President is the institutionalization of contingency planning in major operations. So that will form part of the police operational procedures.
One of the biggest things you will have to prepare for, sir, is of course the coming 2016 presidential elections. When you were during your inaugural speech, you promised an apolitical PNP. When you say apolitical, what's in your mind? What for you is an apolitical police force?
Non-partisan police force.
Right.
We will be involved in election, but not on partisan political activities. In 2010, I was provincial director of Nueva
Yes, sir.
If one of my officers has a relative within the 4th degree of consanguinity or affinity and running for an elective office, I relieve temporarily those officers to the nearest police station.
Right.
Then I return him after the election period. In 2013, when I wrote that election plan, I made sure that it's there also. So the application of that rule happened on a national scale, and for 2016 we're going to do the same thing. So that's one way. And the other way of ensuring the PNP being apolitical is, engage civil society groups,
Right.
PPCRB, and other civil
So
society
getting the
groups.
watchdogs to
Yeah,
also-
watchdogs. So that to make sure that every single of our officer are, reported to their superior.
Right.
Because I think the president was also very, very clear that leaving a legacy of that the Philippines being able to hold democratic election is also one of the non-negotiables in this administration.
So another issue every election is that, the movements prior to the election
Yes.
ban, you get a lot of accusations that some officers are moved there supposedly to favor one candidate as a concession to the administration. How will you deal with those?
The movements are being done to make sure that those officers who have been there for too long, 2 years, for example.
Right.
So again, the measure is not the number of years. Officers who have developed familiarity with
okay.
so many political leaders there already.
Right. Right.
So you tend to compare or analyze that is meant to favor certain candidates. But the fact remains that we'd like to change officers who have been there for so long,
Right.
who have familiarized themselves with the politicians, the leaders there, not to cast anything upon their integrity,
So you
but to make
get it.
sure that the PNP as an organization protects itself from any bias,
Cloud of
labeling,
suspicion or
suspicion.
whatever.
Yeah. So that's actually the whole idea in changing these officers.
So we can expect to see
Yes,
several changes, I guess,
several changes. Yes,
in the elections.
we don't do it just like we do some very serious study on those things.
So that's already moving at this point.
Not yet. We still have to finalize our election plan for 2016. So the draft is there. I don't know if it's on my way to my office for approval, but before I left the Directorate for Operations, I put the finishing touches for the election plan 2016.
Sir, another recurring issue every election is the accusations that wetting money is aplenty, and it's used in local races. What was your own experience when you were a PD, RD, in handling that issue come
Well, when I
elections?
was provincial director, the wetting kasi has been changed with something else, something with legal cover already.
Okay.
So not so much anymore. The gambling at the local area, at the communities, have been changed with STL
Okay.
or the license issued by Cagayan Economic Zone Authority. So they have been more or less legalized, and to label them as similar to wetting would not be very accurate.
Right. But sir, in other regions where, wetting continues to be a problem, illegal gambling continues to be a problem, and supposedly it might be used to the advantage of politicians. How do you...
We should, the commanders on the ground should make sure that those activities should be stopped. But over and above transferring people, if you favor certain candidates by not doing anything on a particular illegal
Inaction,
activity,
yeah.
so same thing. It would still redound to the PNP favoring certain candidates. So the best thing to do is stop these illegal activities once and for all.
Sir, we're back to basics, but at the same time, that's a lot of things to fix
Yeah.
and prepare for in the PNP. Realistically, ano sa tingin niyo po yung kaya niyo talaga? Kasi you've said yourself, you plan to retire by June?
Normally, once the new president is installed,
So you're
it is
prepared.
customary that
Right.
I think bureau chiefs,
Yeah.
department secretary tender their
Right.
courtesy resignation. So it is reasonable to believe that I'll be doing that at the end of the term of the president.
So let's say June or let's say until August, what do we prioritize at the very least? Given that
The basics of policing, that's patrolling. Like to see more people. This is my dream that the police and the community could band together and address common problems of peace and order. That's my dream.
Sir, there's that's a lot of things to fix in a year's time. We actually have a question from Twitter. It's hard to pronounce her user. DJJ Janine from Twitter. She asks, what would be your uniqueness among any other PNP chief of the past, I suppose she means, that can make sure we change the system that we have today?
I think I'm unique in a way that what I said in my speech was I had tested some of the strategies that I used to address them. I've experienced those problems. I have a very clear picture of the dynamics of policing on the ground.
Sir, another issue that hounded your predecessor were corruption, graft issues.
Yeah.
I think that's an impression a lot of people unfortunately have on the police force. Yung corruption nga. How do we plan to fix that? Is it a perception problem or is it a reality din talaga?
It is often said that the best deterrent to crime is the certainty of arrest and prosecution.
Okay.
Following the models of the president, Daang Matuwid, you have seen senior commanders in the past investigated, jailed, dismissed. And I think this has, sent very, very strong signals.
That's true.
And for us to be very, very careful, we have put on board several observers during our bids and awards committee sessions. And the downside is, it's very hard to, procure.
It takes longer.
It takes longer to finish. But it's worth it. It's worth it to making sure that it's really, graft-free procurement.
So somehow, sir, yung tuwid na daan nga, nag-translate na talaga siya.
Yes. Obviously, in this organization, this is manifested in the so many biddings that have been conducted here. Right. We have been very, very deliberate, very diligent in making sure that the provisions of the law, the procurement law, is not only observed, but more than that, we put on board several observers to make sure that
third-party
observers.
The previous chief, the allegations against him also put a spotlight on the senior officers of the PNP. There was clamor for a lifestyle check at one point in the police force. Is that something that we are considering or thinking about?
Especially for people who are involved in illegal activities, that should be resorted to make sure that his assets are not ill-gotten.
Right.
To make sure that the allegations against him are founded or unfounded. So I think lifestyle check should be resorted to during the conduct of any investigation, especially for officers who have been accused of wrongdoing which are bigger in magnitude.
But sorry, sir, but one issue that people had, even the senators had a problem with the IAS kasi daw it's supposed to be headed by someone who's not from the PNP, but right now it is headed by a police general. So how do we plan to improve the efficacy, I guess, of IAS in the PNP?
I've said in my speech that I think we should reinvent IAS.
Right.
Over and beyond investigating offenses, dismissing, punishing people, I'd like IAS to be, more on the proactive side. How do we prevent these things from happening again and again? And in some instances, being committed by the same people, same group of people. So I'd like to find out why, because your intervention is only as good as how good is your assessment of the situation. The pills given by the doctor is only as good as the diagnostic conducted before.
It's better to prevent crime than chase after a criminal.
So I'd like IAS to, on a day-to-day basis, what are you doing, IAS?
Okay.
So yesterday, I convened that ad hoc disciplinary committee to look into this.
Oh.
Yeah, to look into this. If somebody commits a crime today, my question is, has he been accused of any wrongdoing in the past? How many times?
Red flag yun.
What happened to this? So it gives you, red flag. And when you are up for position to higher levels, that record, those documents should be very helpful now. So it's a red flag.
So it's tied na rin to the promotion, sir. Fairness and promotion.
Precisely. So you go back to the issue of meritocracy.
Yeah.
It's plus or minus. No matter how good you are, but you're involved in anomalies, then it's plus 10 minus 10 is 0. It remains 0. So hindi ka lang dapat magaling. Dapat maayos ka din.
That's a nice quote, sir. And with that, I would like to thank you again for the time that you've given us, sir. It's going to be a tough 12, 13, 14
Yeah,
months.
I know. I never realized that speech last Thursday would generate so much positive feedback and expectation.
And that's good, sir, for an institution that, you know,
Yeah,
is,
but that makes me, you know, that gives me sleepless night. How to level up. But you know, I will always ask the leaders of this organization to you know, take advantage of this. You know, it doesn't happen in our lifetime.
right, for the people to be to be rallying behind you so strongly. And I think, and I hope that everyone will continue to rally behind the Philippine National Police.
That's my job. I hope they toe the line.
Thank you again,
they
sir.
rally with the leadership and you know, serve the people. That's our job.
Thank you again, sir, for your time. Again, we were joined by Director General Ricardo Marquez. This is Bea Copin, and that was Rappler Talk.